When an avoidant sees you again after a long period of silence, something inside them shifts before they can even understand what is happening. On the outside, they may look calm, distant, or completely unaffected, but internally, memories begin rushing back. Feelings they thought they had buried start resurfacing. Fear, curiosity, longing, and uncertainty can all appear at once. Your presence reminds them of the emotional connection they tried to distance themselves from. And suddenly, the story they created about you, the relationship, and their own lack of feelings begins to feel less convincing. They may have told themselves that they had moved on, that the past no longer mattered, or that they were completely detached. But seeing you again can quietly challenge all of those beliefs. There is often a brief moment when everything they pushed away comes back to the surface. Before they say hello, before they smile, before they even decide how to behave, their emotional system has already reacted. For an avoidant, distance often becomes a form of protection. They use space to feel safe, maintain control, and avoid emotional exposure. So when you suddenly appear in front of them again, their mind may need a moment to catch up with what their emotions and body have already recognized. It can feel like opening a door they deliberately locked years ago and discovering that everything behind it is still there. Their first reaction may be incredibly subtle. A change in breathing, a slight tension in the chest, a momentary pause, looking away and then looking back, a sudden effort to appear completely normal. These small behaviors may seem meaningless, but internally, a lot can be happening. The body often remembers emotional experiences even when the conscious mind tries to dismiss them. That is why they may feel something familiar the moment they see you. They don't necessarily want to acknowledge it, so they may quickly push it down and tell themselves that it means nothing. But emotional memories do not always disappear simply because someone stops talking about them. This creates a conflict inside them. One part may feel warmth, familiarity, curiosity, or even the desire to reconnect. Another part immediately warns them to stay guarded, maintain distance, and avoid becoming emotionally exposed again. That inner conflict can happen within seconds. They may try to explain the feeling logically. They might tell themselves that they are simply surprised to see you, that they are remembering an old chapter, or that they don't actually care. But the emotional response doesn't always follow logic. It comes from the impression the relationship left behind. And sometimes an avoidant doesn't fully realize how deeply something affected them until they are placed directly in front of the person again. The silence that came before the reunion can make the reaction even stronger. They may have believed that enough time apart would erase the emotional connection. They may have used distance to rewrite the past and convince themselves that what happened between you wasn't that important. Then you appear again, and suddenly that carefully constructed distance feels much less powerful. Unanswered questions return. Old memories become vivid. Feelings they avoided acknowledging begin making themselves known. Their defenses become active because you represent an emotional part of their life that they cannot completely control. And there is another reaction they may rarely admit. They become very aware of how you see them. They may wonder whether they look nervous, whether they seem confident, whether you can tell they are affected, whether they appear too distant or too interested. They may try to control their facial expression, their voice, and their body language because maintaining composure feels safer than revealing what is happening underneath. But the most important part happens before any words are exchanged. Their unconscious reacts first. Their defenses follow afterward. And that initial internal shift can influence everything they do next. They may also begin quietly observing you, not in an obvious or deliberate way, but through a rapid emotional assessment. They notice your expression, your posture, your tone, your silence, and the overall energy you bring into the moment. They are trying to understand what kind of emotional situation they are stepping into.
Do you seem calm? Are you hurt? Are you angry? Are you expecting an explanation? Do you appear completely at peace without them? Are you warm, neutral, or distant? They may notice these details while pretending they aren't paying attention at all.
For someone who associates emotional closeness with pressure or loss of independence, this kind of observation can become almost automatic. They want to know whether seeing you again will force them into a conversation they don't feel ready to have. They may watch your eyes for signs of resentment. They may notice whether your smile feels genuine. They may pay attention to whether you move closer or maintain distance. And while they are studying you, they are also studying themselves. They are quietly asking, "Why am I feeling this way?" They may notice tension in their body or a strange sense of familiarity they weren't expecting. They may wonder whether old feelings are returning and whether they can remain composed without revealing too much. That is why you might notice a brief moment of softness in their expression, followed by withdrawal. The softness can reflect emotional recognition. The retreat can reflect the instinct to protect themselves. The more meaningful you were to them, the more sensitive they may become to the emotional atmosphere of the reunion. If you truly meant nothing, there would be very little to manage internally. But when there is unresolved emotion, every small detail can suddenly feel important. They are not necessarily judging you. They are trying to determine whether being around you will require vulnerability. They may also compare the person standing in front of them with the person they remember. They notice whether you've changed, whether you've become stronger, more confident, more peaceful, or more independent. And your transformation can affect them more than you realize. If you appear grounded and comfortable in yourself, they may feel less pressure because you don't seem to need anything from them. But if you appear deeply emotional or expectant, they may immediately fear being pulled back into an emotional dynamic they once escaped. Your silence can communicate something. Your confidence can communicate something. Even the way you carry yourself can tell them more than a long conversation ever could. And sometimes, the person they thought they had left behind is standing in front of them looking completely different, while the feelings they thought were gone suddenly feel surprisingly familiar. This is where the emotional reality they avoided can begin to surface again. And for an avoidant, that realization can be both deeply comforting and deeply unsettling at the same time. They also pay close attention to whether you seem to blame them, expect something from them, or need them to fix an emotional wound. For an avoidant, the idea of being responsible for another person's emotional pain can feel extremely uncomfortable. They may fear becoming responsible for someone's happiness, feelings, or healing. So even a small indication that you want answers, explanations, or closure can immediately make them more guarded. Internally, they are looking for one thing: reassurance that seeing you again will not automatically pull them into an emotional situation they don't know how to manage. Those first few seconds can shape everything that follows. If you appear peaceful, emotionally stable, neutral, and comfortable within yourself, they may slowly relax. They may become warmer, more engaged, and less defensive. But if you seem hurt, emotionally intense, or as though you are waiting for something from them, their instinct may be to create distance, even if they continue standing right in front of you. Their initial assessment becomes a kind of internal map for the interaction. It influences their tone, their level of openness, how much eye contact they make, how physically close they stand, and how long they allow the conversation to continue. And most of this happens without them consciously planning it. When an avoidant sees you after a long silence, their words often reveal very little about what is actually happening inside. Their unconscious communicates through things they have much less control over: their eyes, breathing, posture, facial expressions, pauses, and tiny changes in their behavior. They may have learned how to carefully control what they say, but the body has its own language. One of the clearest places to notice this is their eyes. If you still carry emotional significance for them, their gaze may briefly change the moment they see you. They might look at you with unexpected softness and then quickly look away. Or they may avoid holding eye contact for too long because maintaining that connection makes them feel exposed. That withdrawal doesn't automatically mean they don't care. Sometimes the opposite is true. The emotional intensity can simply feel uncomfortable. You may notice a quick glance, a pause before they look at you, or a moment where their expression seems to recognize something familiar. For a fraction of a second, memories and emotions can rise before their defenses take over again. Their breathing can change too. They may inhale more deeply, hold their breath for a moment, clear their throat, or suddenly speak after taking a noticeable breath. These physical reactions can happen when someone is trying to regulate themselves during an emotionally activating moment. The body often reacts before the conscious mind has decided how to respond. Their shoulders may become tense, their jaw might tighten, their arms may fold across their body. They may create physical distance without realizing it. These aren't necessarily deliberate signals. They can simply be automatic attempts to feel protected. But sometimes their body does the opposite.
They may lean slightly toward you. Their feet may point in your direction. Their body may turn toward you even while their face tries to remain neutral. That can reveal a pull they are not consciously ready to acknowledge. Their hands can also become restless. They might adjust their clothes, touch their face, play with something nearby, place their hands in their pockets, or rub the back of their neck. These little movements can be ways of releasing nervous energy. Even their silence can communicate something. If they hesitate before answering, pause in the middle of a sentence, swallow before speaking, or suddenly break eye contact, they may be carefully filtering what they say because they don't want too much emotion to escape. They may believe they are hiding everything successfully. But emotional activation is difficult to conceal completely. A tiny smile may appear and disappear. Their expression may soften for a second. Their shoulders may relax before becoming tense again. A flash of sadness or relief may cross their face before the familiar emotional mask returns.
These moments can be incredibly brief, but they can reveal more than a carefully constructed conversation. The same thing can happen with their voice. They may suddenly become unusually formal, overly casual, quieter than normal, or even talk faster than they usually do. Some may use humor to make the moment feel less serious. Others may change the subject quickly. The words create distance, while the subtle behavior reveals that something deeper is happening underneath. This is why an avoidance reaction cannot always be understood by listening only to what they say. Their conscious mind may insist that everything is fine, while their body is responding differently. The body can remember what the mind has tried to dismiss. And then something even more powerful can happen when they realize that you are no longer the same person they walked away from. Your growth can completely change the psychological dynamic. Avoidants often create internal explanations for why they needed to leave. They may tell themselves that the relationship was too intense, that they needed freedom, that the connection demanded too much, or that distance was necessary for their peace. These explanations help them feel comfortable with their decision. But then they see you again, and you have changed. Maybe you're calmer, more confident, more emotionally independent, more grounded. Maybe you simply seem at peace with yourself. That can create a serious contradiction inside them. The version of you they kept in their mind may have been connected to conflict, emotional intensity, sadness, or vulnerability. They may have continued thinking of you through that old snapshot because it helped justify the distance. But now the person standing in front of them doesn't match that picture. And when reality no longer matches the story someone has been telling themselves, the mind has to reorganize. They may suddenly realize that you weren't as dependent on them as they imagined. Maybe you didn't remain stuck in the past. Maybe you didn't fall apart without them. Maybe you became stronger. That realization can bring complicated emotions. They may feel admiration, curiosity, regret, relief, envy, shame, or even a renewed sense of attraction. Because your growth can communicate something they didn't expect. You are capable of being emotionally whole without them. And strangely, that can make you feel safer to them, while also making them more uncomfortable. Your stability may reduce their fear of being overwhelmed. If you are calm and self-contained, they may sense that you are not going to demand constant closeness or control their space. But your stability can also remove one of the explanations they used for staying away. If you're no longer chasing them, pressuring them, or depending on them emotionally, then the question becomes much harder to avoid. What is actually keeping them away now? At that point, the barrier may no longer be you. It may be their own fear of intimacy. They can also begin comparing themselves to the person you've become. They may wonder whether you have outgrown them, whether you can see through their defenses, whether they have changed enough to meet you where you are now. That comparison can create both attraction and anxiety. Your evolution may make them want to come closer, while simultaneously reminding them of everything inside themselves they still haven't faced. And perhaps the biggest shock is realizing that your life continued while they were gone. You didn't remain frozen in the moment they left. You grew, you healed, you became more independent, you kept moving forward. That can quietly destroy the illusion that they still control the emotional story, simply because they were the one who walked away. Suddenly, they are forced to recognize that your absence did not diminish you. And this is where their internal world begins recalibrating. Because when an avoidant sees you again after a long silence, one of their deepest struggles is the collision between two powerful instincts, the desire for connection and the desire for protection. One part of them remembers the warmth, familiarity, comfort, and emotional bond they experienced with you. Another part remembers everything that made closeness feel frightening. So both reactions can exist at the same time. They can miss you and still pull away. They can feel drawn toward you and still become guarded. They can want to know more about your life while pretending they don't care. They can feel emotionally moved by your presence while doing everything possible to look unaffected. That is the paradox. Their distance does not always mean the absence of feeling. Sometimes it reflects the conflict between wanting closeness and fearing what closeness might demand from them. And when you suddenly stand in front of them again, after all that silence, that conflict can come alive all over again, quietly, intensely, and long before they ever find the words to admit what they are feeling. The body remembers what the mind tries to forget. The emotional imprint remains even after a long period of silence. So when they see you again, they may suddenly experience a wave of nostalgia, warmth, relief, or familiarity that they weren't prepared for. For a brief moment, their defenses may soften. They may feel naturally drawn toward you, even though they can't explain why. It isn't necessarily a conscious decision. It is an old emotional familiarity, the memory of how it once felt to be connected to you. Avoidant people may not form deep emotional attachments easily, which is exactly why a meaningful connection can leave such a lasting impression. They may distance themselves from the relationship, but distancing doesn't automatically erase what the relationship meant to them. Seeing you again can reactivate that emotional imprint and bring them face to face with feelings they never completely understood or allowed themselves to experience. But almost immediately, another part of them can become afraid. The fear isn't necessarily about you. It's about what emotional closeness awakens inside them. Intimacy can bring old emotional patterns to the surface. Somewhere along the way, they may have learned that depending on another person could lead to disappointment, pressure, rejection, or the loss of their independence. So when connection begins to feel intense, their protective system can activate before they even understand why.
Their body may become tense. Their breathing may change. They may suddenly want to step away, distract themselves, become emotionally distant, or behave as though the reunion means nothing. These reactions can feel almost automatic. Their mind may begin repeating the same protective messages it has relied on for years. Don't get too close. Don't become dependent. Don't reveal too much. Don't let them know how much this affects you. And now, two completely different forces are operating inside them. One part wants to move closer. Another wants to escape. One part remembers the connection.
Another remembers why distance felt safer. They may want to say something meaningful, but fear that speaking honestly will open emotions they cannot easily control. They may want to know how you've been, yet hesitate to ask. They may feel happy to see you, while simultaneously wanting the interaction to end. This emotional push and pull can appear through tiny physical changes. They may shift their weight, change their tone, tense their shoulders, relax for a moment, then become guarded again. Their eyes may reveal warmth before they quickly look away. Their posture may move toward you, while their words remain emotionally distant. These small reactions can sometimes reveal the internal conflict more clearly than anything they say. And the long silence before the reunion can make everything more intense. An avoidant may believe that enough time apart will naturally weaken the attachment. They may assume that if they stop communicating, stop thinking about the relationship, and continue living their life, the emotional connection will eventually disappear. But silence can bury emotions without actually resolving them. Then you appear again. And suddenly, what they thought was gone becomes present again. For a moment, the longing may become impossible to ignore. They may realize that they aren't nearly as detached as they convinced themselves they were. That realization can be uncomfortable, especially if you appear calm, confident, healed, or different from the person they remember. Your presence can disturb the emotional balance they created during the silence. They may also become afraid that you can see what is happening inside them. They may wonder whether their eyes are giving them away. Whether you notice the sudden change in their expression, whether you can sense their nervousness, whether you can tell that seeing you affected them more than they expected. And because they fear being emotionally exposed, they may become even more controlled. They might become unusually polite, distant, quiet, or detached. But beneath that controlled exterior can be a very different emotional experience. There may be vulnerability. There may be regret. There may be curiosity about whether things could ever have been different. There may even be a desire to reach out again. Yet the fear of emotional responsibility can stop them. They may worry that reconnecting means having to explain their disappearance. They may fear questions about the past. They may not want to apologize, discuss their behavior, or admit that they were affected by the connection. So the longing remains trapped behind the same defenses that created the distance in the first place. This is why an avoidant can walk away from a reunion looking completely composed while feeling deeply unsettled inside. The interaction may end, but the emotional experience doesn't necessarily end with it. Later, they may replay the encounter in their mind. They may think about what you said, how you looked, how you responded, and how they themselves reacted. They may question why seeing you affected them so strongly. They may try to dismiss the entire experience while secretly returning to it again and again. They may analyze the smallest details, because understanding the moment intellectually feels safer than simply admitting what they felt. That is the deeper conflict. They are not necessarily choosing between caring and not caring. They may be caught between wanting connection and protecting their independence, between emotional familiarity and emotional fear, between the desire to come closer and the instinct to retreat. And this conflict can remain with them long after the reunion is over. What appears externally as indifference may actually be an attempt to manage feelings they don't know how to express. Because sometimes the strongest reaction isn't a dramatic confession or an obvious attempt to reconnect. Sometimes it is the silence after they leave, the thoughts they keep returning to, the memories they thought they had outgrown, the strange feeling that comes back whenever they remember your face, your voice, or the moment they unexpectedly saw you again. What rises inside them is not simply a memory of you. It is recognition. Recognition of what they once felt. Recognition of what they avoided. Recognition of the emotional experience they never fully processed. The silence may have created distance, but distance did not necessarily erase the connection. And whether they eventually move toward you or retreat once again, there may be a part of them that knows the connection mattered. Fear can make someone run from something meaningful, but it cannot always make the emotional imprint disappear. That is why the moment they see you again can stay with them. They may continue thinking about it quietly, long after you are gone, because something inside them was reminded of a truth they had spent a long time trying not to feel.